The offices of Barcelona felt like a newsroom and a courtroom at once. Desks piled with folders, phones buzzing with updates, and the clock of a season opener ticking louder than ever. At the heart of the scramble was Joan, the 23-year-old goalkeeper whose name had become a tiny, decisive battlement in a much larger financial siege. What began as legalese and form-filling suddenly turned into relief when club insiders confirmed that Garcia's La Liga registration had cleared, a small administrative victory that immediately restored a measure of calm to Hansi Flick's planning. But tranquility was fragile. Marcus Rashford, the marquee loan who had already worn the Barça crest in pre-season friendlies, still hovered in bureaucratic limbo. Within the club, there was genuine optimism. Staffers and executives speaking in hushed, hopeful tones, yet optimism collided with reality. Additional paperwork had been lodged, a national holiday loomed. And La Liga's strict salary cap and medical verification checks meant nothing would be typed as final until the league's systems showed the names. That bureaucratic tension reframed everything. Tactical conversations about formations and substitutions were now threaded through with fiscal arithmetic. Who sat on the bench depended on how auditors and administrators read sheets, not only on training ground form. For Flick, the scenario was brutal and oddly simple. If the paperwork passed, Rashford would travel to San Mar and Barcelona's attack would gain a headline name. If it didn't, Flick would have to jigsaw a start in XE without the forward he'd planned around. Club staff worked with a peculiar mixture of urgency and ritual, submitting scanned contracts, chasing signatures, and waiting for La Liga's stamp of approval, all while the calendar crept toward kickoff. Outside, fans argued on terraces and timelines, some celebrating Garcia's clearance as evidence the club could still get its house in order, others striking a wary tone about the lingering gaps in registrations like Chesney and Gerard Martin that would probably follow in later office cycles. The stakes were more than formality. Barcelona's registration choices are tied to how La Liga interprets long-term injuries. Marc-Andre ter Stegen's extended absence opened the slot that Garcia filled, and to recent financial moves that tweaked the club's permitted wage bill. The public holiday introduced an almost cinematic pause. A day when bureaucracy, by tradition, slows and the momentum of men and papers on a deadline seemed to hang in mid-air. Inside the Valencia-sized administrative room known as Barca's management wing, a single sentence kept surfacing. All documents have been provided. Now it's down to La Liga. That line encapsulated the mood, confident in the club's delivery, resigned to the slowness of official machinery. Meanwhile, coaching staff sketched two versions of the game plan whiteboards and minds. One where Rashford composed part of the front line, the other where a different winger would be asked to carry the creative burden. Each plan carried its own ripple effects. Press patterns pressing intensity, who would drop to link midfield and attack. The club anticipated a last-minute resolution. Hope, after all, had become an operative tool. But even as optimism hummed, the narrative had a sting. Other registrations, including veteran names, might only clear after audits and fresh documentation were filed in the days to come. So when Flick's travel list for Mallorca was due to be announced, it arrived tainted with the same suspense that had followed the team for months. Will the goalkeeper, who replaced an injured icon, be on the plane? Will the marquee winger, who promised to tilt the balance in tight games, be allowed on the pitch? By the time the squad bus wound towards San Moix, the story told itself about football's new architecture, where transfers and tactics meet columns of numbers and procedural checks. It was a reminder that modern clubs win or lose in offices almost as often as on training grounds, and that a match-day decision sometimes begins with a clerk's signature and a league official's confirmation. Whatever happened at kickoff, Barcelona's fans would remember this as the day administration and ambition intersected under the pressure of a fixture list. A moment when a registration form and a public holiday could change the face of a team's opening night and perhaps the tone of a whole season.